Today we're going to start with aphids. Our pest of the week, I guess, is aphids. And these guys,
whew, it's probably the most common insect we have in the gardens. I mean, you will see them on everything.
They're
really.
relentless.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you see one, you're going to see a bunch.
There's a lot of them, and if you see one out on a stem, if you turn a leaf over, and you probably will see hundreds more if you're not careful. But aphids, they're a small, soft-bodied insect, kind of a tubular shaped insect where they've got they pierce into the leaf,
sucking,
go into the leaf, suck the juices out. So I mean that right there provides us some issues, transmitting some diseases. But I mean that's minor. But I think the aphids they win with numbers. Win with numbers. I mean, you can see on the picture that it's pretty common to have 50 on a leaf if you're damaged. So I think this particular one that may be
kind of looks like a milkweed.
Milkweed, and they're pretty notorious for.
They love milkweed. I had milkweed last year, and I was all happy to have my milkweed. And I looked out there and was like, oh my! They changed orange. The milkweed turned orange with these guys.
Yeah. So there's a few varieties. It's not. Don't get too wound down on the variety. Which kind they are. But they're all going to do the same. They're going to pierce, suck. They're going to suck juices. So that's going to slow the plant down, and then they're going to spit out babies, live babies that are almost ready to feed. So they'll spit out 5 to 50 a day. Sounds like a lot, but it is, and they'll keep spitting them out until they hit that life cycle, and that's one of the reasons why they do win in the garden, because of their numbers, sheer numbers.
Right, and we got a picture here they're orange, but they will be in different colors, and, especially as they're tiny. They may.
Yeah, there's a green peach aphid that's green. I mean, like I said, there's about 5 to 10 different species that we have, but I don't tend to dwell on that too much. But the one thing is people, I'm going to spray them, so they're gonna go get a chemical. It's probably a broadcast, broad spectrum spray that they're going to spray. Well, what we're doing, we're killing everything out there, including the beneficials. And that's one thing that makes this population blow up. We may spray them on a Monday and then come back on a Friday and they've blown back up again. And what's happened, we've killed a lot of our beneficials that are feeding on these soft-bodied aphids and keeping our population in check. So we got to be careful when we're applying insecticides for these. They're pretty easy to kill. We've just got to be cognizant of the beneficials that we have out there.
Well, and especially like me and my milkweed, and other people grow milkweed. I mean, you're growing the milkweed for the monarchs.
Yeah.
And if you get out there and spray the milkweed to get rid of the aphids, you're not going to really be helping the monarchs very much.
No, it won't.
At all.
It won't. So
you have to do kind of these lesser type insecticide, or lesser damaging strategies.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, and I mean there are, and I think on our control recommendations that we have, one of the first things that always comes to mind is a stream of water.
Right. Seems crazy, but
they're pretty fat and clumsy. I can kind of relate a little bit sometimes, but you can take a stream of water or your water hose and just kind of wash them off.
Right.
It'll knock them down. They're pretty clumsy to get back up. Let that plant take off and and go. So that's probably your first step, probably the easiest, and it will work. It will work. So.
It will work, and but you're going to have to repeat that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a one and done.
Yeah.
You're back out there, every 3-4 days or something?
Yeah, coverage is essential, whether we're talking the water or the oil or insecticide, because they are down underneath those leaves. So when we spray that water or that stream, be sure and get underneath as much as you can. And then they'll finally find their way back. More will come. And you may be able to do this for a couple weeks, but you may have to go to some soaps or some oils that kind of helps control them a little bit more. Like
insecticidal soap.
Okay.
Horticultural oil, neem oil.
Correct. So the soap does what it does with most other insects. It gets on them and it dries them out. It allows them to desiccate basically and die. So that dries out from the inside. So that soap releases that skin or that outer covering of them and will kill them that way. Right. So that's the soap, insecticidal soap. Horticultural oil kind of works as a smother. It gets on and kind of smothers their skin, so it kind of suffocates them. So that can help pretty good as well.
Yeah. But both of those are contact insecticide. You have to spray on them. You can't spray and then hope it'll get on them. You have to spray on them.
It's got to get on them and coat them essentially.
And like you mentioned, the underside of the leaves. If they're under the leaves and you spray the top of the leaves, it's like they wore an umbrella and they were protected from.
They're just waiting.
They're just fine. They'll be back out. So you have to spray under and above, and basically just soak the plant. Soak the plant up and down and all around and everywhere.
Normally, in the summertime, we would kind of have a caution on watch the oils because we don't want to use too heavy of an oil, too heavy of a horticultural oil because it can suffocate the plant. But this time of year, it's not too bad. We're still cool enough. The plant can survive pretty good with that horticultural oil. So we're in good shape on that.
Right, and then there's always. IPM, Integrated Pest Management Strategy. Well, I guess this would be included in that strategy as well, but ladybugs.
Yeah.
Ladybugs will love them and eat them, and I feel like 50 a day or something.
A lot of them. They'll feed a lot. They are soft-bodied, so they can poke in there. And another one besides ladybugs are lacewings.
Really?
Lacewings are kind of fun, and you can find those. I've seen them at some of the garden centers. Maybe not as early in the season, but mid-season we can find some lacewings in there. But they're a pretty neat one. They're lacewing lions is what they call. Wow. As well as the larvae of ladybugs. They're pretty ferocious feeders.
Right.
Like you said, 10 to 50 to even more a day.
Right.
So that's the ones we're protecting. We don't want to just spray an insecticide. We've got to protect those because there's enough of those out there, especially as the population of the aphids get higher. That population of the naturals, beneficials will do good as well. So be careful spraying. Just don't overspray. Try the softer things first, and then if it's not working, if you've got a high population, then pick an insecticide that is pretty safe for our beneficials out there.
Right. Well, and like kind of the downside to the ladybugs, it was awesome. You go buy a container, you let them all out, and that's great. My aphid problem is solved. They'll devour all the aphids, they'll eat them all gone, and then they'll go.
Or they'll go to the next.
Then the ladybugs will go somewhere else.
Yeah. So. It's fun to have, it's fun to go buy a package of ladybugs with your kids and put them out in the garden and, let them crawl on the plant. They don't do a lot in theory, in real life, but they will get out there and feed a little bit. Right. And they're fun to show the kids that hey, these guys are going to eat these pests that they're feeding on. So don't give up on them. I think look for the lacewings, look for the ladybugs. Go find some, but protect those when you're spraying. Be sure and keep them in mind.
Collateral damage.
That's right.
Minimize the collateral damage.
So aphids, bottom line, just keep an eye on them. You may have to spray that stream of water every 2 or 3 days, some insecticidal soaps or some horticultural oils, maybe weekly. But again, like I said at the first, they're turning over their life cycle every 3 to 4 days. So you may control one set, but then another set's right behind waiting in the action. So,
or your neighbor's yard.
Or your neighbor's yard or that. But just be, keep in mind we'll have to scout these quite often. You will have aphids, but they will, hopefully your beneficials will keep them in check.
Right. All right.
Yep.
Aphids.
There it is.